Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we are diving into something super powerful, that is custom REST endpoints in WordPress. If you are building a WordPress site and want to interact with it via APIs, creating a custom REST endpoints is an essential skill to have. By the end of this video, you will know how to build your own custom endpoints to extend the WordPress REST API to suit your needs. Let's get started. In the previous video, we have seen that WordPress is already providing a bunch of REST API endpoints. You can check my previous video on REST API, and I'll put the previous video link in the description box as well. Endpoints are the specific routes you can call to retrieve or manipulate the data. So let's go to Firefox first and open our WP-JSON endpoint. We can see WordPress comes with these many REST API endpoints that we can use, right? But sometime we might have the different functionality to have in our website or so. So what we can do is we can create our own endpoints to retrieve, manipulate the data that our WordPress website has. Now let's dive into how you can create your first custom REST endpoints, and we'll learn that by a basic example. So first of all, let's open our code, and I'm not going to use the same MU plugin that we were using previously. I'm going to create a new plugin to separate this functionality, the REST API, right? Let's name it as REST API demo.php. I'm going to create a separate plugin, the MU plugin, that will be loaded. So open a PHP tag and put the headers like plugin name. Let's say it is custom REST API endpoint demo. Save it and let's check in our backend that if our MU plugin is activated or not. Yes, so here it is, custom REST API endpoint demo is loaded. What we can do over here is we have to create our first custom endpoint. For that we have to use the WordPress hook, that is REST API in it. So whenever the REST API in function is being called, our custom endpoint will be reflected over there. So let's use that hook using add an action called REST API init, and then our callback. Let's call our callback function as register endpoint and copy this callback function and declare it over here, register endpoint. So let's go ahead and register our route. WordPress has its own function to register the route, that is register underscore rest underscore route. In this function, what we have to pass is the first parameter will be our namespace. So let's say I am passing OTS slash versioning of your route, or you can say the endpoint. So we are going to use v1 OTS dash v1 that we have to use, and then the endpoint that we are going to use. Let's say we are fetching first 5 posts from WordPress. So fetch dash posts, we are declaring it over here. Then what we have to do is we have to pass the methods as well. As we have seen in previous video that in REST API there are get, post, put, delete, there are multiple methods, right? So we have to mention in registering the route as well. So what kind of things we are going to do over here. So let's give it an array and pass the method as we are getting the data, right? We are not creating anything also. I'm going to put get method over here, and we have to pass the callback over here as well. So this denotes that when OTS slash v1 slash fetch post will be called using get method, you have to pass something like your callback will be needed to perform an action. We will name a callback that is fetch post rest. Declare the function for fetching the post. In the demo version, we can say let's just echo hey and test if we have our endpoint registered. So this way we have registered our REST API, and we can see it in the directory of REST API endpoints. So in routes, if you'll see, we have OTS v1 fetch post over here, right? And if we are going to postman to check our REST API endpoint is working or not, let's just create a folder over here, add a folder and name it a custom endpoint, just to organize the things. Right now, in this folder, let's add a request. Now same, we can use our base URL, that is the till the wp-json slash we have created our own endpoint and namespace, right? So what we can do is we are going to use that OTS slash v1 slash we have used the fetch posts. So we are going to put it into postman. After sending, we can see that our endpoint is working pretty well. So here we have got the message as well, but this is not the right way to pass the response from REST API. So we are going to see that as well. So let's just erase this echo hey. Now let's fetch the post here. So I am preparing my arguments. Let's prepare the arguments. Say my post type needs to be the posts, and I want that only publish post needs to be written, right? So post status will be publish. Now let's fetch the post in post variable. So WordPress has already a function called get posts, and in that I'm going to pass my arguments. By this we are fetching the post using this argument. Okay, now we are going to return this post in our REST API response. So what we are going to do is we are going to return initialize the REST response class here and return with the class constructor for WP REST response. In that we have to pass the data. First is the data and second is the status of our REST API response. So 200 is okay, and in this array we are going to pass whatever we want to pass, like success is true, and the data like post we are passing, so we are going to name it as posts, and then in posts, let's say it's posts, so posts I am going to return. Let's save this and test in our postman. Here you can see that success is true and the posts are being fetched. I have two posts, we can clarify over here. In posts we have two posts, my rest post and hello world. So in postman you will be able to see my rest post and the hello world. Okay, so this is the basic custom endpoint that you have created just now. In the register as route, there are multiple things as well that you can pass. So if we are going to have the dynamic endpoints, such as if I want that count as 5, so anyone with this endpoint, if they fetch count as 10, then it should get the first 10 posts. Otherwise, if I am saying 1, then 1 post should be fetched. Okay, so how I can manage this? So what I have to do is I have to pass the arguments over here, and this will accept the array. So let's say we are going to have the count as an argument, and we have to set the properties of that as well. So we can say default is 1. So if you are not going to pass anything, the default count will be considered. Okay, now in this fetch post rest function, what we have to do is we have to catch the request parameters as well. Okay, so what we are going to do is, let's name it as request catch the parameter, and here I am catching the count of the post. So in the request, let's get parameter using get param, and in that we are going to pass the count. So we'll have the count variable over here, and here in these arguments we are going to pass the number posts argument, which will be defined as how many posts you want to fetch. So number posts dollar count, and then I'm going to pass the count as well in the response, so a retriever can know that how many posts are been there in the response. Now save this and go to your postman, send this, and you'll see you have requested the 5 posts. If I am not requesting with the parameter and send, it will say the default 1 post. Okay, here you can see you are having the 1 post only, and if I want first 5 posts, so let's say count is equal to 5 and send it, you'll see both of your posts will be here. Okay, now let's try and add the dummy post to check if our WordPress REST API is working right. Let's say new post, sorry for that, dummy post, and publish this. Now let's go to our REST endpoint and send it. You'll see your new post, dummy post will be here. Okay, as we have already mentioned in our REST endpoint, say that we want post status as publish only. Let's try and change the status as draft and update. Now go to your postman and send again. You'll see there are only 2 posts fetched. Okay, and the draft has been hidden. Publish this and call it again, and the new post is back. So our custom REST endpoint is working perfectly fine. Now this is the public REST endpoint, and in the next video we are going to see how we can restrict it for the particular users using the permission callback and all. So stay tuned and wait for my next video. If you found this video helpful, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more WordPress tutorials. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.